Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, everybody in between and outside the ballpark, to the Noved Notes podcast. We're finally back after 5 months of hiatus. Holy cow. But welcome to episode 93 of the podcast. We have some amazing individuals here who make some of the most immersive VR theater known to VRChat. We have Deirdre and Screaming Color from the Ferryman Collective team. Welcome in. Hope you're doing well.
Wait, what's happening, Color? What's happening?
I'm so sorry.
It's all right. We love Scuff. It's fine. But welcome to you two. Hope you're doing well.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Busy, but so happy to be here. Yes. I'm a fan of the show.
Of course. Well, thank you very much. I would say, well, first and foremost, for the general listening audience, we'll start with Deirdre and then we'll go to Color. So who exactly are you and what exactly is the Ferryman Collective?
We do live theater inside of virtual reality, and we have been doing this since about 2020. We have 7 shows now. It's been kind of crazy because it's just continued to grow as we've been doing this. It kind of started out of the pandemic, as many of these things do. And VRChat is our chosen platform because it's the most creatively liberal. It lets us do anything with avatars within limits, like we work within quest limits, or anything with the world, within the the parameters of the tech. So it allows us a lot of artistic freedom, and we have created shows that really range from like intimate stories about family to fantastical worlds, like the one that Color built in the space station in space, that started from Club Gumball and Gumball Lounge to our current show, which is called Uncanny Lounge Riffs Interlude. That's our newest. It's a sort of a short demo show, and then our newest big show, which is Uncanny Alley: A New Day, which just got Emmy nominated. So we are over the moon.
Of course, and congrats to both of you on that, by the way. That is absolutely crazy that you guys got Emmy nominated against Blumhouse and Prime Video, no less. That's amazing.
Yes. Agreed.
Yeah, so Color, you want to introduce yourself as well?
I am Screaming Color, aka Christopher, but no one calls me that anymore, which is kind of fun. So I am a VRChat world creator. I kind of got my name to fame, or fame to claim to fame. There we go. Was Club Gumball, and then Gumball Lounge after that, and it was just 2 months after I released Gumball Lounge that she scouted and asked me to join the team, and so I've been with them for almost 6 years, which is also kind of crazy. Yeah, I don't know what much there is to say honestly right now. I mean, I have a lot to say, but for that question, I'm done.
Yeah, fair. No, I mean, yeah, you guys have been, as Deirdre mentioned, you guys have been making shows since 2020. Back when the pandemic happened, and making these immersive theater experiences for all to enjoy. So I got to ask the both of you, what kind of got you started into VRChat in the first place?
Well, I stumbled into virtual reality because I was doing in real life. I was doing, like, in the physical realm. I live in Los Angeles, and I was doing immersive theater specifically, which is the kind of theater that you don't sit in chairs and watch the proscenium actors portray with the fourth invisible wall, where you, the audience behind that wall, are peeping into the show. Immersive theater actually takes the audiences and incorporates them within the show. It's usually set in a location that isn't a theater, and it uses the whole space that you're in. It could be a laundromat. It could be I've seen them done in old mansions and different convenience, wherever you can find a place that will rent out to you, and you can create attics and stuff. I've seen lots of stuff. So I was doing that, and I saw some friends of mine in a photo on that was in this immersive theater publication that I follow called no proscenium. And I was like, what are my friends doing? I know half those people. What is this thing called the Underpresents? And so I called my friend. I said, what is this thing? And she told me, she said, it's this VR game that has brought in actors to portray NPCs and kind of blow the players' minds. And it was like, wow, that's crazy. And I reached out to them and said, do you need some more actors? And they were like, actually, we do. So both Steve, who's another Ferryman Collective member, and he's also my husband. So there's that. We auditioned, and because of the timing, he couldn't do it, but I was able to do it. And that was 2019 and like November, Thanksgiving area, I started doing shows for them. So then March of 2020, COVID hit and everything shut down. So I was working with them, and then that's what kind of got me into VR, into VR in the first place, and having done immersive theater and then also production and doing production on like short films and webisodes and stuff like that. I kind of had like this perfect set of skills to sort of branch off into doing our own production company with some other friends of ours, because we were doing the Underpresents and then Tempest for quite some time, and then that ended up closing. And then some of our friends were like, oh, I hate that Halloween is over because of COVID and we can't do anything. I know enough about Unity to build in VRChat. So he's like, I'll build this thing. And I'm like, okay, well, Steve and I will come and, produce and do the actors and, all the things. And then it just kind of built from there. So it was sort of like fate's aligning in a way.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And
yes. And so then I dragged this one in.
very much with the fates aligning. Yeah. So I realized I gave such a lame answer before, but I can sort of pick that up where this. So I've been making digital art of all kinds just as long as I can remember, basically. But in different types of music and video making, and I used to get really creative with PowerPoint. I used to make these like animations of like people battling with superpowers and stuff, but you would just like all like hitting spacebar on PowerPoint to create animations that way. And then my main focus became music for a while. For almost 10 years, I was really, really, really focused on creating this music, which was sort of autobiographical about the things I had learned in my life that made everything start being like really magical for me all the time. Learning to love yourself, in one sentence. And so then I was working at a gay nightclub, and we had these videos just like these TV screens all around the bar, but what they had playing on them was just garbage. And so I learned to use Blender, just so I could make us some new coolish stuff for that. And so then when the pandemic hit, I lost my job at the nightclub, obviously, used my stimulus check to buy VR for the first time. My second day in VR ever, I was in VRChat, and the next day I downloaded a Unity. I was just like, it all happened like really, really fast track. But I was just like, well, I know what I'm doing now with my life, because, it's just suddenly, one day in VRChat, and I was just like, you can create. Like the first time I went up inside the gumball machine, like this, for those who don't know, my game takes place in a 500-foot gumball machine. And it's just the first time that I went up inside there in the glass and like looked out of the dome after that very morning, imagining that such a thing could even be possible. I'm sure most world creators get that feeling, right? And so, I because of the pandemic, I had all the time in the world, and just kind of met these guys.
Yeah, that's I was awesome. At the community meetup. Mm-hmm. And I was like seeing his world, and I thought it was beautiful. And then we were doing Welcome to Respite, which was our third show. And this is the one we wanted to go big with. We wanted to like submit it to some of these XR festivals. And we brought color in to sort of experience what we had up until then. And it was, pretty rudimentary at that point, but the story was there. And Color was like, oh, it would be really cool is if in the beginning the house spawned out of a book, like a
Well,
pop-up
that
book.
was Braden's idea, but I executed it. Yeah.
Yo,
Right.
really? I didn't know it was
Yeah.
Braden's idea, but fair,
Yeah.
fair. The next morning, he's like, "Hey," because we were like, "Oh, that would be cool," but that's just, that would be amazing, but that's crazy. And he was like, the next morning, he was like, "Hey, I did it! I gotta show you something." And we all got into VRChat, and there was this room, this black room with this book in there, and then he says, "Okay, click it," and so we clicked it. And then it just drops. And then it just raises up into the sky. It opens up and unfolds this house. And then, boom. And we were all just like, our jaws hit the floor. We're like, what? And so it's been nonstop magic ever since with this one here. We call him our magic maker. Yeah.
They give me a good direction to channel magic.
That's awesome. No, I was saying, because there's obviously a lot when it comes to developing and making these performances happen. So I guess one of the first questions I want to ask, because obviously you've been starting with 2020. I believe the title was Para, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So what kind of initiated the start of the Ferryman Collective productions? Like, what made you guys want to start, doing these productions?
Yeah, it was Krampus. He goes by Krampus. He's a friend of ours in Los Angeles, and he was the one who was like, "Oh, I hate that Halloween's canceled. I want to make, I know enough about Unity to build in VRChat. I want to make a haunted house." And Braden was like, "Oh, hey, I got a story for you." So he wrote it, and we all came together and did like this sort of sci-fi haunted house thing. And it was enough to go, hey, this is working. And then next month was the holidays. And, Krampus's name is Krampus. And we were like, well, we kind of got to do like a Krampus story. And he really wanted to do something that was like in the Swiss Alps that had the storybook opened. And then Braden wrote a story around that. And that worked well enough that it actually got name dropped in the New York Times because nothing else was happening. And it got a PGA Innovation Award nomination. And we were like, okay, we're on the right track. And that's when we decided after that to sort of go a little bit bigger and do Welcome to Respite, take a little bit more time and develop something that was, in some ways smaller scale because it was only 2 actors, but also it was also controlled by those 2 actors so they could run the show by itself. So they do all the stage management and all of that because we'd learned from the first 2 shows, about, okay, well, we can't have the same amount of actors as audience members. And, it's easier if, we don't have extra people to run it because that's less people in the world, less taking up performance. So we were starting to iterate on the things that we had learned before and change things up based on that. So that's kind of how it started. And then Braden and Brian, they actually, after I think right around 2 years ago, they decided to go off and do like, more game-oriented stuff. And some, a different kind. They wanted to go in a different direction, so they actually left Ferryman Collective. So it's now just the 4 of us: Screaming Color, and then myself, and then Stephen Butchko, and then Whit and Frank as like the core members of the team. But we're now starting to add on, like, we have all of our 10 actors who work with us regularly, and we're starting to add on, like, we now have a mentee who is we're working on training them to do their first VR theater production, and Brendan Bradley, who's also very prolific in the space, is starting to work with us as well. So it's all growing, but we're trying to keep it from getting too big too fast, but it's also a little bit crazy because things are kind of going fast. So
For sure.
Yeah.
No, I mean that's amazing. And I was like, kind of to go more that you can both fully answer. Because obviously, with Gumball Dreams and Uncanny Alley, which from VRChat players' perspective, that's what I know you guys for, and what most VRChat players know you guys for. It definitely is a crazy thing, the amount of work that goes into those. And, it definitely has paid off. I mean, you guys have won many awards across the board, from VR to XR experiences, to being featured in like film festivals like Rain Dance and Venice Immersive. It's very inspiring, to say the least. So with all these accolades, which one was the one that kind of hit you guys the most when it comes to like being in these accolades? not counting the Emmy. We're not counting the Emmy yet.
Okay, fair.
That one's an easy one for me. The highlight of the career thus far. Well, no, not a highlight, because on the one hand, because this is 3 years ago, and on the one hand, it's the better it gets. I truly believe that. I truly mean that. It's like awesome. But the one that holds a place in my heart is was the second show that I had joined them for, which was Gumball Dreams. And what Gumball Dreams was Deirdre here saw my world and loved it aesthetically. That's what asked her to. That's why she asked me to join them in the first place. But she always said, there should be a story that takes place in here, And so she created that show basically, and then her and I sort of developed it together. And so that show was in a few festivals, and it was in Kaohsiung Film Festival, which is in Taiwan. And that was our second time in Taiwan, but it was the first time that I went in person. And so I got to come out here for a couple weeks. And so that was just like the most magnificent week of like my whole life. Like it was just the most incredible experience to go to Taiwan for 2 weeks. And on top of that, if it wasn't already enough, like we won the Golden Fireball, which is like the top prize at the festival. And we were at karaoke together, all in a big group, and I called these two. I was like, "Wake me up call me as soon as you wake up." And they're like, "What's up?" And I was like, "We won!" And it was just absolute the most glowing I've ever glowed in my whole life. And that is what made me move to Taiwan. And I've now lived here for 3.5 years. And
wow.
I've worked with the festival. The next year we developed the Gumball Dreams into the Mandarin version, Mi Huan Pao Pao Tang, which was the Mandarin version. I had 4 Mandarin actors that I trained, and I've been with KFF for 4 years, and I'm going to be there to this year as well. And I just got the news 2 days ago that I officially got a grant to work on a project that will premiere there next year. So KFF
awesome.
is like my home now. So yeah, it's a very special place to me.
That's freaking amazing, dude. Congrats. That's
Thank
awesome.
you. I'll probably work there this time 3 years from now, to be quite honest.
I hope so. That'd be fabulous. It feels
awesome.
right.
Deirdre?
No, I've kind of got my hands
This is such
full.
a hard question for me to answer. Oh my God, you're asking me to choose between my children. It's too hard to get to it. But I will say, what I will say is that Rain Dance in VRChat is something very special. And I want to give a nod to Maria and the team. They are the heart of festivals with VRChat for me, as far as like celebrating the artists and really shining a light on what is possible in VRChat. And I've really had a great time being I've been a juror with them. We've been in there 3 times now, 3 shows that we've had the honor presenting, 2 of which won. And we're just. So I will highlight Maria and Joe Hunting and GU and the whole team over there at Fangs over at Rain Dance, because those guys are doing amazing work.
Absolutely.
100%. Now I feel bad for not saying Rain Dance, having heard that explanation. No, they are 100% ditto to everything she said.
No, absolutely. I mean,
what I say about every festival has their strengths, but the one about Rain Dance is that it's the one that consistently from year to year feels like a cohesive family. It's absolutely that.
100%. No, I can definitely attest that it very much incenters VRChat as a family, and they do so many amazing things for the platform. Overall, when it comes to showcasing, like, not only here in VR but also in real world too, like, to people, like, here's like all these things you can see in VR. It's very, very commendable for Marine Dance.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, considering that so they're highlighting like the artistic work and how to run like a festival. And what you guys do over at Project Community is highlighting like the communities and how many there are in within this platform, and how to run a conference in VRChat, like virtually, and it shows a viable model for that, that is embodied and feels as close to being in person without actually having to fly somewhere.
No, for sure. Well, that's awesome for the both of you, and again, congrats on all the accolades. I mean, there's on your website, there's like a whole plethora of accolades from all your shows across the years. So congrats again on those.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So obviously, with the Ferryman Collective, you guys don't just tell stories; you place people inside them. So how do you begin designing an experience where the audience becomes part of the narrative?
I think each show is different, and each show has its own sort of origin story. Because Steve and I and Witten had worked for, with The Underpresents, and because Steve and I had been doing immersive theater in the physical realm prior, we kind of understood the formats around that and what that was like and what it felt like to be an audience member within that. And I think that's sort of our guiding principle, is how do we want the audience to feel? What do we want? How do we want to affect them? So that usually is our North Star, as to like how we build a show around that. And there's several formats that, you can take, like Gumball Dream highlights sort of the one-on-one format. I would say Uncanny Alley highlights sort of a group dynamic. So the format depends on the show, the parameters of the show, and then the story also dictates how you want the audience to go through it, how you want them to feel at any points. So that's sort of how we design them. Is we basically, I want to tell this story, and this is how I want the audience to feel. How can I make that line?
No, fair. And I guess, Color, from a more technical perspective, like what are some ways like you make sure that they feel that they fit in the narrative?
Oh, sorry, I was muted. So, how do I make them feel that they fit the narrative?
Yeah.
A lot of ways. I love this question. Let's see. One of the things that I like to do is add a sense of realism, to the best of my ability via like sound design. I was actually thinking about that recently this week because I'm doing a lot of updates on Uncanny Alley: A New Day. And there's so much sound design that I can do for that I could not do for Welcome to Respite. I did a little for Welcome to Respite. Gumball Dreams, there's almost no sound design because you don't exactly have crickets on the moon. There's just nothing there. But with Uncanny Alley, because it's a city with like literally 12 environments, like I'm just going crazy with it. And I like making things more realistic because it's like I truly, in my classes, I say, I do this whole like arc of like why tell stories, what makes a story effective. And it's like the more emotional I think a story is the more effective it can be, pretty much, bottom line. And then the more immersive a story is, the more emotional it can be. And the more you can help someone lose themselves in that story, by just making things feel more realistic. It's like, it's like just anything, having to look down and click a blue button to get in a seat, like that reminds you're in a video game, right? But those things are unavoidable in VRChat. But to remove as many things like that from the equation as possible. And it not only helps the actor or the audience lose himself in the story, but I think the actors perform better as well. If I can add so much richness to the world and so many little entertaining details that even the actors are having a blast, like triggering these animations, then they'll enjoy what they're doing more, and therefore they'll perform better. It's like a win-win.
No, for sure. And yeah, sound design and environmental things are huge when it comes to making sure they're immersed. As you mentioned, like a video game, usually before every performance, you guys set people through like a little tutorial on like what their setting should be. Which a lot of people don't do when it comes to their stuff, which I very much commend you guys for that. Like turning off nameplates, making sure their safety settings are a certain way. Yeah, to be fully immersed, you have to have these settings the way that you guys set them. So you guys are doing a great job on that, at least from my personal opinion.
Thanks.
Of course. So Deirdre, you mentioned earlier, doing, theater outside of VR and stuff, because directing actors on physical stage is one thing, but directing performers spread across VR is another. So what are some unique things that you've experienced when making these shows happen inside of VR?
We were just talking about onboarding, right? So onboarding is like is really hard because a lot of our audiences are coming inside from outside into VRChat, and it's their first time being in VRChat. Sometimes it's their first time being in VR at all. So I think that's one of the hardest things that we deal with is like the tech, right? It still has its limitations. People lose Wi-Fi, they fall out of the world, and all of those things are a challenge. So when we bring people into onboarding and get their menu set, like we're also trying to get them, calmed and reassured you're in the right place at the right time. Don't worry about how much stress you had to get in here or your day. Now we're here and we're going to walk you through the rest of this, and we're going to take as much time as we need and make you feel comfortable and ready to see a show. And then equally, offboarding is also just as important. You want to bring them back out of the experience and reground them. If it's in VR, just reground them, sort of just the show is over now. And then, if we're in the real world and we're taking headsets off, we usually greet them and, give them water, and we try to introduce them to the actors, either virtually, like on a video screen, or in real life if they're actually there. And then a lot of this is just like the tech, like, how do actors deal with, when their partner fell out of the world, the other actor, and they're like, oh, now they have to improv something until they can get the actor back, or they're acting with one of the audience members and they disappear, so I think there's a lot of pivoting. There's so much performing is, we get caught up in being perfect and being the best and being so compelling, and I think that a lot of what we do is taking and stripping that away and moving more into trust, right? I'm going to trust that my performance is good, and I'm also going to trust that if something goes wrong, I'm going to be able to deal with it. And I also trust that the people around me are going to be, contributing and having a good time. And I'm also going to trust that, we're going to get through the whole thing without major complications. And we're gonna, we're not gonna try to make this the best performance that Shakespeare ever had. We're gonna have a really good time together, and this is a collaborative effort. So I think that's sort of where I fall with all that stuff. It's
of course
it's a challenge, though, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, with technology, it can definitely be very finicky, as we've all definitely experienced when it comes to that. But kind of speaking more on the tech side again, I know it's a lot of tech questions. I'm sorry. But obviously you've been making stuff for a while here in VR color. So, obviously there's been a lot of unique changes and updates when it comes to making worlds and stuff in VR. So from your personal experience, what have been some of the unique experiences of the world dev side, dealing with these updates through VRChat, through Unity, and all that stuff?
Well, the only quote unquote downside I can think of as far as like updates and stuff has just been because in every one of our shows we need like we were talking about the onboarding, and so we have these panels, these pictures of what the menus look like inside the world. And so those change very frequently. So I've got to go in and, change every picture in every world every time. But that actually kind of was a beautiful catalyst that gave birth to something that now exists. And that is our sort of onboarding world. They asked me, they said, hey, it would actually make your life easier. What if we just had it all in one core place? And I was like, hey, that's an awesome idea. And then I like mega ran with that, and it's sort of like our company hub, and we use it before every show, and it also has this theater with this immersive trailer I've been working on for a few months, and that'll debut in the next couple months here. I'm really excited. And that, unlike our shows, people can come and experience anytime. It's just kind of like a 7-minute Disneyland ride of an experience that sort of we're using as a trailer to sort of try to give a little picture into what it is that we can provide in the performance factor, but in the awe factor. Obviously, it doesn't get too close because it's not live. It only gets close anyway. I've strayed from the question. So the upsides of there have been so many exciting updates that it's like, oh my God, life just got a little bit better. The most significant of which was like 4 years ago. It was towards the beginning, and that was the day that VRChat allowed Quest Worlds to have 100 megabytes instead of just 50 megabytes. And that was in the first year of Welcome to Respite. And that was also, I was absolutely, and it was so exciting at the time because like, oh my God, now I can put so much more in there now. Well, the funny thing is we've got 10 times as much in Uncanny Alley because I've gotten good at optimization and compression, you know what I mean? But yeah, at the time it was still very, very exciting. And I know someday we'll get 200 megabytes. So, but
one day, hopefully.
Yeah. So anyway,
no,
yeah,
absolutely.
that comes to mind.
No, of course. I mean, yeah, there's definitely a lot. Unfortunately, and obviously I'm not part of VRChat staff, but I know there have been rumors about eventually, because the headset is as old as it is, I know they are planning to deprecate support for the Quest 2. Still keeping the Quest 3, Quest 3S, because I mean the headset for Quest 2 is 6 years plus old, which is typical for video game consoles about that time.
Right, it just happens.
Yeah, but I would say it definitely goes to show, like, VR tries to keep all of its tech in contact with what it is as long as it can. Obviously, a little bit of tangent, but I'll say, because obviously with Ferryman Collective, one of the questions I want to ask the both of you, because obviously you guys both started in different times of the Ferryman Collective. So from when you both first started to now, how has the evolution of Ferryman Collection affected you as an individual?
Oh God, it's changed my life. Like, yeah, this is a precedent. This is crazy. The things that have happened since all of this started has blown my mind. I'm like, I don't even know how I don't know how we got here. And I lived it. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like the attention from we get a lot of attention, not only from like the film festivals that have an XR component, but also from educators and universities and other places. And I think it's because our work is unlike a lot of XR is human centered and it's live. So there's just not a lot of other XR experiences like that. And there are certainly some amazing and other VR theater creators out there, but there's only a handful of us, right? There's not all that many, and most of the XR experiences are sick stuff or they're 360 and they're amazing and lovely, but there is something about being seen by another avatar that has a soul behind it that feels very powerful in these fantastical environments. I feel like our work is with this crazy intersection of games. So it's got the interactivity of games, it's got the scope and scale of film and the ability to like take you to these crazy places that film and cinema can, and then the liveness of theater and the immediacy of theater. And it's a special combination. And I know that, a lot of times people are like, well, what's going to make this thing take off? And I honestly believe it's places like VRChat and places where you can encounter people. I think people are the killer app. People that you go to meet from all over the world, that you feel like you're hanging out at a bar with them. This is amazing. And just our world, but Steve and I are married, so I often refer to him. So like, traveling around the world with these shows, and people writing chapters in books about us, having us write chapters for educational periodical, like, what this, I don't even know what's happening. And like winning all of these awards, I mean, like you asked me which was my favorite, each one is special, and just gratitude and appreciation for the gift that was given to us, which is the appreciation of people who have experienced our work. And I think that the more that we can continue to grow and get this and this experience out there in the world, I think the more people will seek out more creators and content like this, because it's just very special.
Mm-hmm. I fully agree. What about you, Kelly?
How has it changed my life? Well, on the one hand, it's one of my internal thoughts when we got the Emmy nomination the other day. I was like, I knew this would come someday. I just didn't want it to come so soon. I've known since I was like 5 years old that I was going to be famous. I didn't know why exactly, but I've always just known. I was like, I'm going to change the world. It's like always been my goal. And so, I'm a musician, and I want to perform, and I want to bring this sort of spectacle to the world. I've had that in mind, and that sort of evolves through the years. But the VR stuff, that's a total surprise. Like, I mean, not anymore, but at the time, like, I didn't even have VR 7 months before I met these guys, you know what I mean? And now it's the center of my career. It's not the only thing about my career, but now I realize that was sort of the plan all along, right? In quotation marks, the plan from a hypothetical above. But it's like but it also, so it's like I knew that it was gonna be epic, but I didn't know it was going to happen this way. And that's one of the most amazing things about the universe, is that we can manifest these things, but we don't know how they're going to come about. It's still all these surprises. And furthermore, just like 3 months before I met them, long story short, I was months away from moving to Mexico with a man, and then that didn't happen. And I'd been preparing that for 5 years. And it was and that was just like, so my life was this big question mark. It's like, well, now what? Like I had so much momentum in that direction. Like, now what? My life was just a big empty question mark. And then they filled that canvas with paint, and so yeah, it's just been the most wonderful journey to meet them. It's just been like, destiny isn't even strong enough a word, because it's one thing to like meet people that are creative and determined, but as funny as they are, and loving and supportive and sexy, like they couldn't get any, like, anyone can have a team or company, but like they just check all the boxes. So
no, fair. And yeah, that, I mean, it definitely takes those aspects when it comes to a team to make it feel like home. 100% fully agree with that. It takes a lot, and I do agree, anyone can make a team and, make a company per se, but it takes those elements to make things happen. And the same goes with your works, to put anybody can make a script and perform something, but to put the emotion and put the realism aspect and the more immersiveness of getting people into their own feelings from your performances, that's what art is. Whether you're drawing, painting, making music, or theater, it all very much is the same. As a musician that has a degree in music as well, I feel that 1,000%. Anybody can sing, but to put an art and for people to experience that art, it's a whole nother level. And which kind of brings me more. I want to go a little bit more in depth. Specifically, because obviously you guys done a bunch of amazing performances, many different shows, many different people across the globe, and in being able to perform all these, it's a lot. It is a lot.
It's a lot of work. Yes, it is.
So I guess I want to ask, because obviously, a lot of it does go into it, but I kind of want you guys to dig deep for this one. From both of your perspectives, what is one of the performances, or if you can name a performance, if not multiple, what performances have made you feel like you were the character or you were the most immersed into your creation?
Well, first I want say that thank you for that question. A lot of what we do is, such an audience-centered work, and and in some ways we can't control the doors that open to us, we don't know what opportunities are going to come our way, and we certainly don't know what audience members are going to come to see our shows. And some of the most beautiful moments of doing this experience for me is watching a story come to life and watching the different actors that we work with bring their own personalities to it. That each one is unique and each one brings their own personal magic, and watching a story come to life for the first time and going, oh, this is going to work, or watching an audience, the test audiences go through for the first time and going, okay, that's working. I'm so glad. And I wasn't sure. And like the one-on-ones that we've had in Gumball Dreams, when people, that's, to me, that's one of the hardest shows that we do, because it's one actor and 3 audience members, and there are these moments where each audience member has these one-on-ones with the actor, and the other 2 go off to go into an obelisk and solve a puzzle to get the power source and come back. But that's really a ruse. The ruse is so that Onyx, the main character, can speak to each person individually about their lives. And the things that people have revealed to me when I perform the show, because both Steve and I are actors, along with doing whatever needs to be done for the company, because it's a small company, and sometimes we write, sometimes we direct, we often market. We always produce, but sometimes we're wearing one hat or the other. But sometimes I perform, and when I'm performing Onyx and I'm doing these one-on-ones with people and asking them questions about their lives, and asking them to be vulnerable and to share a moment with me, has been some of the most rewarding and beautiful moments that I have gotten to experience as a performer. But again, the question is hard. Color, you want to take a stab at it?
Yeah. So of all of our shows, I'm only officially an actor in one of them, Welcome to Respite. I could do Gumball Dreams, like if I was like, quick, do it. And I know that because I did once, because at one of our shows at the festivals, Jonathan, one of our actors, his headset just bricked out like 10 minutes into an hour-long show, and I just jumped in and finished the show. And they didn't even notice because I just kind of picked up his voice as we continued. But it was, that was a blast. But the show that I do act in regularly is Welcome to Respite, and that is a really fun role because I get to be a dad. And a goofy, immature dad at that. So it really, truly feels like I don't even have to like act. I just and it's a really fun, uplifting role. It's such a delight to perform. I just, you finish feeling so invigorated and silly. But the emotional highlight of that story is the sort of attic scene where Dad gets a sort of one-on-one conversation with Alex and give this little monologue about the day they were born, and the whole point of that monologue, and in one sentence, that monologue is to make the audience feel loved. And because of that, it's often emotional for me, and it's often emotional for the audience member. It's that each show has their moment that often makes people cry, and I think that's the one for Welcome to Respite, or at least from the dad actor's perspective. And so, yeah, it's tremendously special. You at the end of some shows, you have people saying, my dad never told me those words as long as we lived, and I feel like you just healed something I didn't even realize. You just filled a hole I didn't even, and it's especially powerful and significant in some Eastern audiences over here, because they are, generally speaking, even the affection between a parent and a child there's a sort of distance there that when we break through that in Welcome to Respite is even more powerful sometimes. So yeah, I love that.
No, that's amazing, and for both of you, I mean, it's definitely those intimate moments that define a relationship between performer and audience member, and that hands down it's beautiful. That's really cool. Kind of to go more in depth, because obviously we talked about it a bunch now, but to go more in depth, you guys were just nominated for an Emmy for the Uncanny Alley production that you guys put on.
Yes.
So I guess the very first question I want to ask in that regard: what was your reaction when you guys found out you were Emmy nominated?
Well, first I have to, before we go too far into I have to give an acknowledgement and a shout out for Metarick of Virtual Worlds Company, who is the collaborator and co-creator of the show. So it's Ferryman Collective and Virtual Worlds Company came together it was during a rain dance. It was during rain dance, actually, several years back. And we had just toured Metarick's World Uncanny Alley, and we both, Steve and I, were touring it, and we were like, oh my God, there's so much rich lore here. There's this sort of dripping of like characters and world building, and we're like, oh my God, this is so amazing. And we actually had Metarick through Gumball Dreams, which was the show we were doing that year, and he came up to us afterwards and was like, hey, because Gumball Dreams came about, sorry, dog legs. We're going down some memory lanes here, but Gumball Dreams came out of the fact that Color here had built these amazing worlds, Club Gumball and Gumball Lounge, and I loved them and wanted more people to see them. So I basically wrote a story idea around that and I presented it to him. He was like, I love it, and then we worked together on the script, and then we co-created that. So to get back to the Metarick story, he was like, do you ever see anybody else's worlds and want to create in them? And Steve was like, it's funny you should say that, Rick. And that's kind of how that was born. So if you haven't visited, there's a whole plethora of Uncanny Alley worlds that sort of live with that lore. And our show just basically brings that lore to life. And when so how that happened was, we knew that, at least for us, I think we ended up posting about it for the team. I don't know if you'd found out before that, but for us, we knew that the Emmys were announcing. We knew they were announcing that morning. We knew we had been on the ballot. So that's a big thing, just to even get on the ballot. You should see some of the other things we were up against. You think the two we're up against are big, they're big, but we were also up against Coldplay, a concert that was given for free.
Wow.
That, Meta had like 360 recorded this concert, and I believe they put it in Horizon Worlds, or maybe they made an app for it, but it was huge. It was this amazing concert, and they did all this stuff. And there was also this I think it was either
The Boys.
Audi. There was The Boys, yes.
And Red
wow.
Rocks.
Yes, which is a company like Sylvia. We love their work. And there was was it Paradise Radio? Was it like an offshoot of the show Paradise? Like all of these and then there was us. Who are they? Like, what's this? And so that morning, I know, we're like, what? But that morning, we knew they were announcing. And so, and we're part of the creative arts portion, which is like the unsexy, non-primetime version, where that doesn't show on TV. That the award ceremonies is at a different time. And the same thing goes for the Academy Awards. You don't see like the lighting designer award and the set, like you see, the fancy above the line part, so to speak. So finally, now I'll tell you how it happened. So we just finished doing the primetime live feed on the YouTube. And then we went to the website and we clicked on the emerging media category. And I looked to see that we weren't on it, and we were. Then I screamed loudly, a lot, very loudly. For a long time, I screamed, and so did Steve. And so then we were just screaming together. And then and then we posted for the team, and then they were screaming with us. It was a whole thing. Yeah, it was nuts. Right, Kelly, you wanted to talk about what it was like for you when you first saw that?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have this like huge moment of elation just because it was so like random. I was like, wait, like I just like woke up, and Steve he didn't send it with like, oh my god, guys, guess what? It was more like, hey, so this just happened, and it was like a screenshot, and I was just like, I think this is a really big deal, right? But he didn't present it big in that moment, so I was just like, well, that's cool, I guess, But by the end of the night, I was like, what the fuck,
No, I mean, regardless, it's a huge honor, and one of the very if I don't think any. There may have been one, and editor, do some research and maybe put it on the screen if there was any. But I think you guys may be one of the first, if not the first, Emmy-nominated VRChat production.
I think
ever.
we may be. Yeah,
you might be. I have to do. I've to
we
do
are
some
so
digging.
new
But
that they even spelled it wrong on the Emmy.
they did. I noticed that they wrote VR space chat.
I emailed them and asked them to change it. I don't know if they have, but yes, I was like, oh, they're not going to be happy about that. But yeah, I don't think this is. I think this is a first. Yeah. For VRChat.
It was crazy, and they even posted it on their official socials too. Which is actually how I found out.
VRChat did?
Yeah, no, they posted it. They congratulated you guys on Twitter, maybe Blue Sky as well. But
what?
that is
cool.
I'll make sure to send the link over. But yeah, no, they congratulated you guys. They posted the screenshot of you guys on there with the misspelling of VRChat as well. So, but I think they're very happy for you guys and very honored that they're even mentioned on Emmys, to be honest. Like that, they're very proud of you guys. I guarantee.
I mean, it's huge. I mean, I know that they realized that that this was a creation of artists, but what it is that VRChat does for the community, this would not be possible without them. And so I think it's a huge win for them, for social VR in general, to, like, they're like, the metaverse is dead. Like, no, it's alive, and it's just been Emmy nominated. So it's doing well. And I think a lot of the times people are like, creating these narratives, even like cinema's dead now that we've got streaming, like, it's all this clickbait stuff that they want to, get you in there with the hook on the headlines. But like VRChat is, and social VR specifically is an incredibly special platform for people to gather and be creative and build. And it's so heartbreaking seeing these other platforms close down. And I'm just so grateful for this team that has a VRChat that has run their company in a way to have avoided like some of the collisions with these major companies that they're so willing to buy Supernatural and close it down next month because they don't care. I'm going to buy Altspace, and then it's going to be for Microsoft Mesh, and then where is that? That doesn't exist, so to the whims of these mega corporations that if they don't see a profit within a certain X amount of time, they kill it. But we all know the Seinfeld story. Seinfeld was a weird show that nobody watched in the beginning, and it took time for people to sort of catch on and see it and sort of get the humor, and then it became like this huge hit. And a lot of times things need time. We forget how long it takes for things to be adopted and for people to be able to experiment and use things to their potential. Like, people don't remember how long it took to go from pagers to like phones, and let alone phones that have the internet on them and an encyclopedia and a library and anything you could possibly want, including apps in our pocket. Like, pagers were used to pay phones. You used to have a home phone. Used to, like, only doctors and drug dealers had pagers, and that that was the 80s. Okay, so from the 80s to now, that was a long time. And they're like, oftentimes giving up on this thing because it doesn't work out the way they want it to immediately. And it's like, that's because it's still growing and people are still discovering it. We're still learning how to use it. So we're grateful for VRChat. Very, very grateful, and we applaud them. I'm applauding with my silent hands.
Break, as we say in VRChat, break the controllers, right?
That's right. I'm breaking the controllers now.
Oh man,
for VRChat.
Yeah,
yes,
of course. But anyways, kind of go back into topic. We are running a little bit out of time, so I want to make sure I get at least one or two more questions before we end things off. So obviously, with Uncanny Alley, and the way it is formatted, obviously I don't want to talk about, too into detail because I'd rather them go experience it firsthand, because realistically that is the way to experience it. So if you're not familiar, look, Ferryman Collective website right here on the screen. It'll be down in the description too. But yes, it'll be somewhere on the screen.
Put it all over.
Yeah, but so obviously, without giving away spoilers, of course, in my personal opinion, Uncanny Alley is definitely the most I don't want to say busy, but like the most, there's a lot going on throughout the world and throughout the narrative. So without giving away spoilers and stuff, which scene was the most technically ambitious to create, both on the performer side and on the dev side?
I'm gonna leave that to you, caller, because I mean, I could speak briefly about like performance. It's just that this
you
show
said the performance side as well. Yeah.
I for us, it's two characters, one male presenting, one female presenting, playing 15 roles. So for us, it's more about being able to create characters that are really distinct and different from each other and feel like a whole different character. So when you fall down this rabbit hole of the toilet into the sewer system and you're going through Uncanny Alley, meeting all these different characters, you do feel like you're this cyberpunk, grungy, like hacker, Alice in Wonderland, going through this crazy, interesting, strange world, and you're intersecting with all these, different characters that have their own lives outside of the show. And so that's really important for us in trying to create different characters. Color, do you want to talk about because
Yeah, well, the most technically ambitious part of the show is absolutely the city scene, because every other area of the show is sort of like a closed off room, and you can cull so much you can get away with it. But in the city, like when you're at the bar and when you're at the polygon on the balcony over, you've got to have the entire bar on and the skybox and the city all from that same vantage point. And so it was already ambitious, but now I've gone in the last few months and I've really fleshed it out. So each environment had about two or three audio sources before. Now each environment has 12 to 30. I've added it's there. You're walking through and you close your eyes and it just really feels like you're there. But now there's also flying cars. There's so much now, and so to get all that to perform has been a really fun challenge. But yeah, it's so that's been the ambitious part, is like, and that's how I work, right? It's like I just can't stop. Like if I have an idea, I have to make it, and I test it, and I'm getting like 30 frames a second, and I was like, all right, I got to keep making it better. Like, and I was like, I always just have faith that I'll be able to somehow optimize it in a way that will make it workable, and I always do. But yeah, I like making it like putting 100,000 particles, realizing that's not going to cut it, and scaling it to 10,000. But I like to start big and then kind of.
I will also hand it to both Color and to Rick, who is the world builder and the IP owner, and then Color does like all of the music and the sound effects and the animations and the actor UI and all of the wonderful like visuals, anything that's animated. So amazing. And it's all viewable in a Quest. Like that is an insane feat. Like that is literal alchemy, what these guys do. Like I call them the optimization gods, if I didn't say that already. You are my optimization gods.
Thank
You
you.
went from magician to optimization god. Let's go.
That's right. That's correct. That's
the
right.
promotion.
It's facts,
but
man.
it is true.
Like, what they do is just crazy.
Thank you.
100%. No, I mean it's for somebody who also, does big productions with Project Community and big convention events, making it available for Quest as much as we can. It's also one of the biggest feats that we have to accomplish.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But that blew my mind when I walked around the Project Community the first time, and there's like that. There's a lot of textures in there. Like, wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of limitations when it comes to the booths, to make sure that we keep it Quest optimized, but we make it work. we make it work, and
you really do.
Thank you. So I do want to rapid fire some questions to you, just to, because there's so much to ask and not enough time of day, right? So I was gonna say with Uncanny Alley, a lot of these are gonna be Uncanny Alley questions. So with Uncanny Alley, A New Day, how long did it take to develop from concept to the opening night performance?
Ooh, I want to say that was about almost 2 years, like a year and a half to 2 years before it premiered at Venice, the Venice Biennale. I don't even remember what year that was. I think it was 2024, I think. It was when it premiered. Or maybe it was 2025. I can't remember the moment off the top of my head, but it was about a year and a half development to 2 years. Yeah.
Oh, fair.
24, yeah.
Yeah.
Fair. So I guess, between the both of you, what is like the biggest lesson that you guys have learned while making this production and performing this production? It's a thinker.
Oh God.
yeah, it's fair. I mean, I'm gonna go back to like the pivot, like to being able to trust yourself to deal with the tech, because a lot of times that's where a lot of the frustration comes from, is like, something not working right, or somebody falling off the world, or having to restart your headset for whatever reason. Like for me, it's always like yeah, it or trying to help an audience member get into VR where they've never been in there, and they're just like, one time we worked with a juror for like 2 hours, yeah, to get them into a show.
Wow.
2 hours, yeah. So the tech can be a challenge. I would say that's almost always like from our end, like setting up booths and getting people into headset for the first time. Also, our shows tend to be long. They're like usually an hour, sometimes hour 15. And so people in headset for the first time can be a little like motion sensitive, and it's always disappointing. We try to do things to mitigate that when we put them in headset, but if they're coming in from home in their own headset, like the Quest, sort of original strap is super uncomfortable, things like that.
That's fair.
Dollar, got anything?
No, this is just one of those moments where the entire time she's talking, I'm like, think of something to say so the internet doesn't think you're stupid. I'm just like, I don't know. I mean, I've learned a lot. I've learned that working with Rick is freaking awesome.
Yeah,
he's a dream.
Amazing.
Well, yeah, because I mean,
together,
we collaborated.
They're amazing.
Yeah, we're a good team, and we worked so well together that's why when Manglebird from Venice was like, "Hey, you got anything in the pipeline?" Hint, hint, wink, wink. I reached out to Rick, and I was just like, "Hey, you wanna do a quick 1 month collab jam?" And he was like, "Hell yeah, bro." So
he's from South Africa.
So yeah, and so we did that, and now that has gotten way more traction than I was even expecting. And once again, I had my controller down here. She brought that to life as well, just like she did Gumball Dream. Her and Steve they together brought that to life. But yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for asking all of these questions and letting us, ramble on for long periods of time.
Oh, of course. That's what we do anyway. But I guess I got one more final question before we end things off. So at its heart, with what Uncanny Alley A New Day is really about, what do you hope that someone who attends one of your performances of this show, what do you want them to carry with them long after they've taken off their headset?
I hope that they carry the sense of wonder and a connection with one of the characters. And I hope that they have a moment of reflection about their choice at the end. That's what I hope.
Yeah, the choice that they make at the end is one of the things that's about. There's no right or wrong answer, depending on a person's given situation. You know what I mean? But I think it's something that a lot of people in the world can relate to. And no matter what no matter, we're being vague about on purpose, but no matter what your choice is, it will remind you to appreciate and think about the people that you might stay with or the people that you might leave behind. Yeah.
No, fair. And as somebody who has been through it, dude, I want to say you were there for that performance on Uncanny Alley, and I was heartbroken when I had to make that decision. That's all I'll say on that. There's no footage or anything of that, but I did tell them after the show was done. I was like, y'all made me heartbreak, and like making me choose at the very end for an ending. That's all I'll say. Was heartbreaking, but they are 100% correct. And depending on what your background is, you may make one decision versus another. And, it kind of goes to show that, and granted, with Uncanny Alley, you have a certain amount of people, and, they could split from each other, or they can all go as one, depending on the group of people. So it's kind of crazy, but, it definitely is an amazing experience that I highly recommend anybody who has not even heard of Ferryman Collective or Uncanny Alley, definitely go check them out.
There is a secret third option where you just take your headset off right there.
That would be awful. That's even worse.
just breaks the meta. Just be like, you know what?
I can't make it. I'm just taking off my headset. I won't see the end. Fine.
It's like the Telltale like choose to do nothing ending.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, Deirdre Color, thank you so much for coming on. This was an absolute blast to kind of talk in depth about Ferryman Collective and of course all your productions. And I wish we could talk more, of course, but all the good things must come to an end at some point. As a famous fuzzy animal creature of cartoons once said. But before we do end things off, I do want to give you guys a spot to essentially tell the people where they can find you guys, any links you guys want in the description, all that stuff. But yeah, go ahead and take it away and tell them where they can find you. We'll start with Deirdre first.
Yes, you can find Ferryman Collective at ferrymancollective.com. There's a place where you can sign up for our newsletters and then find out all things Ferryman Collective there, or you can go on to most of the socials except the X. We don't do the X, and we don't really do the TikTok, but like most of the other ones we do, and we're usually either Ferryman Collective on there or Ferryman VR. So look for us there, or you can find me on LinkedIn. You can reach out that way.
Perfect.
I'm not super social network active anymore, but Screaming Color Taiwan on Instagram is my main one at this point. Screaming Color Taiwan on Instagram, and then of course just check out Gumball Lounge 3.3.
Yeah, well, thank you too once again. This was an absolute amazing experience, and I wish you guys the best of luck when it comes to the Emmy nomination. I really do hope you guys win, because as somebody who has experienced your guys' stuff, I've told many people you guys deserve it.
Wow.
So
Thank you.
You guys are killing it when it comes to immersive theater here in VRChat, and I 100% want to see that going forward, pushing through boundaries. I mean, you guys have won a lot of accolades, but I mean, an Emmy is pretty freaking huge.
It's huge. It is a game changer. But thank you so much for for having us. We always appreciate you and your work that you do for the community, and love your show, and thanks so much.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course. And with that, ladies, gentlemen, everybody in between and outside the ballpark, that is it for episode 93. Yes, of the Noved Notes podcast. I want to thank you all so much for watching, listening, depending on which of the 9 platforms you're on. And of course, make sure to go follow Ferryman Collective. Go check out their website. All the links will be down into the description below. And of course, if this is your first time listening to the podcast, or maybe you're coming back to the channel, why not hit that subscribe button or like button, follow button? There's 9 different platforms this podcast is on. Pick one. But yeah, I think that's everything. Probably. I don't know. I haven't done this outro in 5 months. You'd think I definitely wouldn't remember after 5 months. But thank you all so much for watching, listening, depending on what platform you're on. And of course, I will see you in the next episode. Take care and peace. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Noved Club.